Okay, here we are again at the university where everyone can earn a PhD in the system of racism, white supremacy, where there will be no little I's or big U's, where everyone is a student and a professor, where everyone is respected. And we're going to get right to it. That is studying the system of racism, white supremacy, because we have elected a new president. The system is still in effect. It's still working. So we need not be fooled. We need not think that the system is changing because one extremist or one person that or system that supports the system of racism, white supremacy is being removed from office. Therefore, the system is not in play any longer. That is a mistake. That is a tremendous mistake. We don't want you to be fooled because Joe Biden smiles at us. We want to be intelligent. But what we're going to do first, we're going to define the system of racism, white supremacy, simply because Black people do not have the definition of racism, white supremacy. 99.9 of us cannot define it and cannot tell you how the system works. Although we are affected by the system of racism, white supremacy, every day, 3, 5, 7, well, how you say it? 24/7, 365. Yeah, 24/7, 365. And if you want to know how much that is, 24/7 times 365 times whatever age you are. That's how much you are affected by the system of racism, white supremacy. So therefore, we must learn what the system is. Mr. Neely Fuller should be credited by first defining the system. He did it in 1953. Shortly thereafter, he met Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, a medical doctor, the only medical doctor in the history of the planet, a psychiatrist, less a medical doctor, the only one in the history of the planet that studied, wrote, and lectured about this system for over 40 years. Excuse me. For over 40 years. And Imam W.D. Muhammad, who also lectured about the system. He just used different language, almost sometimes the same language, but meaning the same as Mr. Neely Fuller and Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Here is an example. And this is why we use these three people as our textbooks. Because I do not believe God put them here for X number of years and then they passed through this life and we should forget them. They had a lot, and Mr. Neely Fuller is still here with us. But Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and Imam W.D. Muhammad, has gone on to another form of life. But we should not throw that away. I heard Mr. Neely Fuller said we should be working to be universal man. But the first one I heard say that, that's why I say the language is just alike. sometimes using the same exact words. And they may or may not have come in contact with each other physically. But I'm almost positive, more than likely, Imam Muhammad may have read about him, and vice versa, because both of Mr. Millie Fuller and Imam Muhammad were both avid readers. So Mr. Millie Fuller used the term that we should be, I heard him say that we should be working to be universal man. But the first one I heard say that was Imam W.D. Muhammad. He said black is local, human is universal. He was pushing us to be a universal man. And they both talked about racism, white supremacy. So is Dr. Francis Cresswell. So we use these three people as textbooks, and we encourage you to YouTube them, buy their books, read and study. So as time went on here at the university, we developed our definition of the system of racism, white supremacy, coming from Mr. Millie Fuller. And we changed some words, but not to stray, carefully not to stray far afield from the original definition, which Dr. Francis Cress-Welsing added on to the original definition. And we should continue to grow. So we added on to that definition. So here is the definition originally given to us by Mr. Millie Fuller, then Dr. Francis Cress-Welsing, and then we added our, we being the university. Racism, white supremacy is a worldwide system. This is the definition. In this definition, you're going to know what it is and exactly how it works. This is very important. Very important. Racism, white supremacy is a worldwide system of domination for the genetic survival of those people that classify themselves as white. It has patterns of control in speech, thought, language, system formation, action, and emotional response. It is carried out in 10 areas of human activity: education, entertainment, economics, labor, law, religion, politics, sex, war, and health. For the ultimate goal to protect the genetic material of those people that classify themselves as white. That's what racism, white supremacy means. And we need to learn that definition. And if we don't want to do it, if I have to learn it and just continue to be on here by myself, I'm going to do it. Because it is important. It is so important that if we do not learn that definition, in other words, learn what racism and white supremacy is and exactly how it works, we will never be able to defeat it. So the only thing we can do now is just line our children up to be slaughtered. It's the only thing we can do. Because we refuse to learn what the system is and exactly how that system works. Once you do that, then you can implement countermeasures, as Mr. Millie Fuller says, countermeasures to the system. Dr. Francis Cress-Welsing says there are exercises and mental health. Imam W.D. Muhammad says it's just good common sense. At the university, we say there are steps towards freedom. And here are they. It's just things that you have heard all the time. Here are some of the steps towards freedom. Stop killing each other. See, these are the countermeasures. Then what can we do, or what? How are we gonna fight it, or what? What's the solutions? Well, here they are too. Stop killing each other. Stop fighting each other. Stop lying on each other. Stop arguing with one another. Stop snitching on one another. So snitching is this, because I know we got one definition of one way we see snitching, and that's just totally backwards. Snitching is this: reporting someone to authorities, and authorities can be CIA, FBI, all the way down to your block captain on your street. Reporting someone to authorities for your own political and or economic gain. In other words, reporting a person so you can take his place and do the same thing. So you can be lifted up politically or economically, if not both. That's snitching. Stop snitching on each other. And we got a lot of that. We got tremendous amount of that. Stop playing around with sex. Because if Dr. Francis Cress Welsing says that if you play around with sex, the joke gonna be on the kid. You know how we do. I may be married or may not be and want another woman, and then just go out there and have sex just for the fun of it. And then the person's come up pregnant. And I'm not in a position to take care of them. So that child goes up without a father or a mother. And most of the time, a father. 70% of Black households have no father. 70 in the household. 70%. See, I'm giving what we're giving you right now is steps towards freedom, solutions to racism, white supremacy, countermeasures, acts in Black mental health. This is what I'm giving you now. I have already given you like 6 of them. Stop telling or teaching our youngsters that they can get married and produce a family before the young lady is 30 and the young man is 35 under this system of racism, white supremacy, because they cannot. Because before those ages, they're not going to be mature enough under this system. And we're going to give you some examples of it. They won't be mature enough under this system. They won't be mature enough mentally or economically. You know how much houses cost these days? And Black people just ain't getting paid that type of money. But they pull their resources together. And so the question will arise, well, if we don't, under the system, we're under the system, and this system is war, is attack, it's a terrorism. And under this system, somebody says, well, if we teach our youngsters not to get married before they're 30, the female is 30, and the man is 35, what are they going to be doing? What they're going to be doing is getting all the education they can possibly get if they qualify to be a PhD or a medical doctor. They should go all the way to that level. A PhD, that includes lawyers. He's a lawyer. That's a doctor of jurisprudence. So I'm saying, if you qualify to do that, do that. If you qualify to get a master's, do that. Go all the way to your potential. If you qualify, which is not less, if you qualify to be a master electrician, you should be a master electrician. Don't be satisfied with just being an electrician. Be a master plumber. These are some of the things that we should be doing before we get married. And by the time we 35, we will already have our masters in electrician, plumbing, construction, master carpenter, and we will be in a female and male. These apply to female and male. We will be in a better position to produce a family, because you can't maintain a family after you didn't produce one by working at McDonald's. You're gonna starve to death unless you're the manager of several stores, potentially the owner. See, these are the steps that we should be making. And it's very important. So don't teach our children not to get married if they're female, before they're 30, if male, 35. That's about 7 countermeasures to the system. That's 7. Stop selling and using drugs. That includes alcohol. That includes alcohol. I don't care if it's legal, because it's a trick. And you know you can't sell and use cocaine, but they're making a move all over the country, and it's pretty much all over each state, that marijuana is legal. But racism, white supremacy, those people are always thinking, and that's a trick. Here is the trick. Marijuana is legal. Okay, it's legal. So you go out and smoke marijuana. It's legal. And you report to work on Monday. It's a trick. Listen, you go out and smoke marijuana on a weekend because it's legal. Or you're doing it for a health benefit. And you go and report to work on Monday. And they say, okay, Mr. Muhammad, let me call your supervisor so he can have you report to the main office so you can take a urinalysis test. And I go down there, I ain't worrying about it, it's legal. And they would say, well, you flunked the test. You fired. Well, how I'm fired and it's legal? Because it's against the policies of Exxon. It's against the policies of the county. So you fired. Trick, trick, trick. It's a trick. So you got to constantly be thinking. So we're taking a position, don't do any drugs at all. Cigarettes. Gonna wipe you out. Alcohol. I don't care how many times a person comes, well, I'm at Johnny's house having a few glasses of wine. Black people don't need any more help to have a good time. We didn't have enough good times. I'm talking about partying and popping our fingers. We don't need no more alcohol to do that. So stop selling and using drugs, because ultimately, either you're going to kill somebody selling them or they're going to kill you. You're going to hurt somebody selling drugs or you're going to be hurt. So we have to reject that. It's 8. See, we have the steps, we have the solutions. I'm saying we in the pejorative sense, we as a people, because you heard all this before. We just don't want to apply them. Stop throwing trash down where Black people live. You stop throwing trash down on the floor in general, but more particularly where Black people live. Because you don't see a whole bunch of trash in River Oaks right here in Houston and in Bel Air. But you see a whole bunch of trash in Fifth Ward, Cashmere Garden. I used to say Third Ward real quick, but gentrification took care of all that. Some parts of Third Ward. Stop throwing trash down where Black people live. Why? Because you will begin to see yourself as trash. And guess what they do with trash? They burn it. They burn it up. They're going to burn you up. And I ain't talking about necessarily physically by putting kerosene on you, gasoline. But they can burn you up in your economic life, in your social life, in your political life. Stop throwing trash down where Black people live. It's like 9. Did I mention stop? Yeah, we mentioned stop playing around with sex. Stop acting like racism, white supremacy does not exist, because it does exist. And the denial of the system of racism, white supremacy is essential to the maintenance of that system. See, when you deny it, it's essential to helping the system. You helping it. Oh, that don't exist. It wouldn't. I went through some real racism. I was born in 1935. As if something you done changed it, or we done changed the system from that what you seen in 35 and what is different in 2020. It's the same. We can't even say it's different anymore. They killed Black people in 35. Emmett Till was slaughtered in 1956, I believe, or 54. You ever heard of Breonna Taylor? You ever heard of Tamir Rice? Breonna Taylor was slaughtered, I believe it was 2020. Coran Charles. White people picked him up. They discovered his body in a sugarcane field somewhere in Louisiana, disfigured. That's the same thing that happened to Emmett Till in Mississippi. So when somebody tell, oh, that don't exist no more, see, I really went through it. Just know that they don't understand. Don't call them names. Just know that they don't understand the system. They are confused. So I just gave you at least 10, and I'm sure you can think of more. 10 what we call steps towards freedom, countermeasures to the system of racism, white supremacy. 10 good, rational, common sense activities. Just 10. Just apply those 10. And we don't have to look outside ourselves, write a letter to Joe Biden. This is what we demand. We want reparations. We want this. This is our agenda. No, what those 10 that I just named, that should be our agenda. And write it to ourselves. Agenda by Black people to Black people. Joe Biden is not going to save us. It's not his responsibility to save me. The Creator put that responsibility on me. He didn't say, well, cause it's racism, you ain't got, I'm going to take the responsibility off of you. Says, save yourself, and then your family from the fire. Can't y'all see us on fire? We got to save ourselves. So I ain't gonna be running around here drinking no alcohol. I ain't gonna be running around here fighting. I'm not gonna be running around here calling each other vicious names and acting like it's all right, stealing, breaking in my neighbor's house. Because I have to, and I'm not going to write a letter to any white man and say this is the Black agenda and we want to be free. What? I put on my pants just like he put on his pants. I'm not going to ask him to be free. I'm going to free myself from my bad self. See, my bad self is the one who want to play around with sex, who want to have, don't mind getting 2 and 3 women pregnant and ain't got enough money to take care of one, let alone 2 or 3. See, I'm going to save myself from my bad self. Imam Muhammad taught us a dua. It goes like this, if I can remember. Oh Allah, only let society see our good self. Remember this. This is just a short prayer. Only let society see our good self and keep our bad self away from society. This is what we should be doing. We ain't write no more letters. That's crazy. We ain't asking for no more reparations because they ain't got enough money to give us. They owe me trillions of dollars. They owe John Jacobs trillions of dollars and Rasul and all his children. They owe them trillions of dollars. They owe Felicia trillions of dollars. They owe Amy trillions of dollars. Now what we gonna do? We wake up Monday and they say, Brother Jacob, Brother Rasul, Felicia, y'all come down here to the Social Security office and we gonna give you your first 50 million. We're gonna give you 50 million every 2 years. And if you die before you get your trillion, it's just gonna go to your next inheritance. But they gonna get theirs too. What are we gonna do with it? Are we just gonna start having a party? Are we gonna start killing one another? Are we gonna say, oh yeah, barbecue time? Are we gonna make a run on a liquor store? Are we gonna try to oppress others? Instead of looking at that money, because once they start giving out money, Whatever the amount be, I just said trillions because that black folk are owed trillions. So once they start giving out money, then what? You ain't getting nothing else. No more financial aid. Well, you ain't getting that now. Can you imagine somebody giving you money? No more Voting Rights Act. And they closed the Voting Rights Act about 2, 3 years ago. It's going to be a push to bring it back. Oppression will still occur. The system of racism, white supremacy is not going to go away because you give somebody some money. It's still going to be working. And we're going to be behind because we don't do any study on the system of racism, white supremacy. But racism, white supremacy, that system will cause people that classify themselves as white to go to the bottom of the ocean and scoop out a grain of sand and study that one grain of sand for the next 75 years. They just launched a rocket up in space to study the ocean. Yeah, the ocean down here. They launched a rocket up there to study the ocean. They got a space station that's floating around the earth and it ain't make believe. They got a mother plane and it ain't make believe. But if we would have applied that knowledge correctly, like Imam Muhammad told us to, it wouldn't be make believe either. But those people were serious. They were studying that language. So we reached this point. We're not going to be long. We'll be closing very shortly. 1 or 2 more points, and then we're going to close. And I want to appreciate all you brothers and sisters that took time away from a very important football game, because we're going to continue to tell people about this system if we have to stand by ourselves. Because when I go, or when we go to meet the Creator, God willing, I want to be able to say I told the truth. I want my record to say that. So here's a point. This is about the system of racism, white supremacy, refining itself. See, it moves in stages: establishment, maintenance, expansion, refinement, and brute force. Refinement, that's the stage it appears it enjoys being in. The system. Refinement will get to the point that you don't even know that the system exists, and you will deny that the system exists. Here's some examples. And it's obvious examples, and I have used it before. Here is Megan Stallion. You'll be able to see her on TV tonight. Ain't no telling what she may be wearing. I seen a video on YouTube. Well, I don't know if that was YouTube or Facebook, wherever. And the way she was talking would shame a race of savages. She was talking about sex, playing around with sex, going from male to female. She go with both of them. And she talked about how she robbed people. And see, this is given out by our entertainers. But they think they came up with those lyrics and thoughts. The system of racism, white supremacy came up with that because they used to have an old saying, he who pays the piper dictates or plays the tune. Racism, white supremacy pays our entertainers major amounts of money to confuse Black people. So Megan Stallion, a stallion or whatever, something to do with a male horse. Now she a female, call herself a stallion. That's a male horse. So here she is, come on TV, taking off her clothes, half naked and everything else, telling Black people or Black women. In other words, I heard some youngsters said, cash out me. And she'll do anything for some money. And just do some research and listen to her music. A whole list of savage type behavior. And at the same time, now the system pays her to do that. To do what? To confuse Black people. Now she on there talking vile. We looking at her. Damn, she sure is fine. She getting paid too. Because we don't think. Simultaneously, while we looking at her physical form and listening to those ridiculous lyrics, it is going into our brain. And at the same time, the system of racism, white supremacy is putting her out front as a leader. Now, when I was young, the leaders were the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and before I got here, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Noble Drew Ali. I'm just calling out some leaders. Booker T. Washington, Marcus Garvey, those type people. But they say Megan Stallion is the leader for Black women to stand up for themselves. Megan Stallion talk about having oral sex with women, taking men money and having sex with them or leaving them high and dry, whatever that's supposed to mean. She's the leader. That's because the system is performing maintenance on itself. See, they don't want nobody in front of you like no Imam W.D. Muhammad. Forget about him. Forget about Sojourner Truth. Forget about Alexander Ocasio-Cortez. Megan Stallion is the leader. And our women, our young girls, and talking to young boys, they tell me our young girls is doing the same thing. On social media having sex. On the media, social media having sex. On social media telling another one that, yeah, we'll have sex, just cash out me. Because we are confused. We didn't went from Sister Claire Muhammad, from Dr. King. I meant to say Coretta Scott King. From what's the lady who does poetry really well? Maya Angelou. We done went from people like that to Megan Stallion and went there overnight. Went there overnight. Went from Fannie Lou Hamer to Megan Stallion. How in the world is that possible? It don't happen to Jewish people. It didn't happen to Chinese people. And that is not to say they don't have people doing that, but it is kept so quiet and hidden that you don't even see it. But our filth is brought right in front of our face. And it's not just the females. If we have rappers, males, because Megan Stallion is a rapper too, I guess. But we have males, they pulling out guns, killing each other. Why? Oh, I had a beef with him. What? About what? I'm still not clear on that. And I won't begin to try to tell you their names. I think one of them name is Bootsy or something. I don't know. It's killing each other left and right. Now, we didn't went from all of the noble leaders that you already know about, that you read about, to Megan Stallion, to Bootsy, I think that's the rapper name, to Snoop Dogg, to 50 Cents. Now these are the projected leaders. They have them all the talk shows, all the View, the Talk, all on primetime TV. That's to get you thoroughly confused. Well, if he can do that, yeah, he can be a rapper and shoot somebody and get shot in the mouth and all that. Well, I can do that too. And then I get to sit out and take pictures with another supporter of racism, white supremacy, Martha Stewart, and hugged up with her as if we are into some sexual relationship. Now this is Snoop Doggy Dogg, or whatever his name is. And he's invited to university campuses. All that, before the virus, all that. And they pay people like that major money to keep you confused. Now here's 50 cents. Man, ain't even a whole dollar. 50 cents. That's to see yourself less than. I don't mind them calling me 50 cents. You got money. Well, why ain't no Jewish 50 cent with a yarmulke on his head? And I'm talking like this. His mouth won't open to pronounce words like this. He talks like this. So you got to ask yourself, why isn't there any Italian 50 cents? Ask yourself that. Why isn't there any people from Russia that calling themselves 50 cents? And then make him a producer and put him on a tie after he done got thousands of people killed. Well, the system refines itself. And they didn't got that part across. Yeah, kill each other, call each other vicious names, call yourself a vicious name. Thug, nigga, motherfucker, hoe, bitch, a horse, a stallion. Say you have sex with men and women. Once you do that, and we put you out front and pay you a whole bunch of money, have you running on stage, no matter how many children you got, you can have a baby, 2, 3 babies, and still go out there on stage gapping your legs wide open. Beyonce. Now I know most of y'all don't like me saying that. But once we get you to do that, or see yourself like that, see, it ain't hard to kill a nigga. Because he a roach. He less than a human. It ain't hard to kill a motherfucker, a bitch, a son of a bitch. Because they're less than human. And we'll have a whole group of people killing each other. Simultaneously, like that, we'll put the people who verbalize that, we take them off the stage and say, hey, put on this suit and tie and let the world know you're a billionaire, you're a producer. After you done told a whole group of youngsters to wear your pants down. Ain't nothing wrong with going both ways. Kill a nigga. I want to make a baby. I heard one brother say, I want to make a bitch have babies every day. And this was at the university. I can make a bitch have babies every day. Now, all this gray hair I got, he didn't have no respect for that either. See, we cannot give any letter. Connie Tosi Holtz done a good job in writing. He wrote about the reparations and Black agenda. Ice-T, Ice Cube done a good job. But man, we don't need to write no more letters to white people telling them we want reparations, this is our agenda. Man, forget about that. Our letter should be to ourselves with those acts of Black mental health that I just told you about. Rewind this video so you can learn them. Teach your children them. Teach your grandchildren them. And don't look outside of yourself to be saved by anyone but yourself. Outside of your social group. But first, you got to save yourself. You got to be a leader yourself. Then you can have a leader in your social group. Don't write Joe, God's sake, don't write him no letters. Please, all them entertainers out there, if this message get to y'all, don't write no more letters. We don't need no more. All those who, and I'm gonna say this, who are, because it puts us in a position of a child. We shouldn't go to him. I heard one some years ago, one leader said, we want divine rights. Said that to a white person, nationally known. It happened on TV. And that white person say, well, I ain't the one to give it to you. Stop looking at them if they are as if they are God. They are not. You ain't either. You ain't either. But please go back and look at this tape. It ain't a tape, it's a video. And this will put us on track how we should be doing. Please, if we have entertainers that's telling our young girls to gap their legs open, shake their behind, right there on TV that's going all over the world, reject that. Because we have little girls. If we have boys, and we have Black males that's telling them to go out and get a girl pregnant. I get a bitch pregnant every day. Reject that. Looking at the producer. Reject that. 50 cents, you ain't no damn 50 cents. That won't buy you jack shit. And they ain't producing a lot of 50 cents. The white man only needs one. And he already got one. 50 cents. You ain't even a whole dollar. So please, brothers and sisters, as we come to a close, and the producer's gonna do his thing. As we come to a close, we begging you, please change our attitude, employ these steps of freedom that I gave earlier. Love yourself. And in closing, Little Ali came in second place in a tournament out of 100. That was a Saturday. I think it was about 100. Came in second place. He kept calm. He hit the ball in the sand trap, and that could be devastating. But he kept calm. I was more nervous than him. And he kept calm and he continued to do better as the tournament went along. And he came from behind to take second place. Your children can do the same thing, and I'm not just talking about golf. Keep up the good work, brothers and sisters. Keep it up. And don't let one moment lapse when you see your grandchildren and children doing something positive. Don't let a moment lapse and say, hey, man, that's outstanding. Keep up the good work. You better than me. You got to go forward. Have a good day.